When life has been so uncertain for so long, it almost feels weird to have a little bit of clarity, like a hard date when things will finally start to reopen in Oregon.
Things are definitely improving.
But fewer lives have been more uncertain than those of teachers.
We're all just running as fast as we can.
And parents.
So you're your mom, you're a teacher, you're a counselor.
And students.
Everything I wanted to do went down the drain and probably won't come back.
All three just learning as they go from home.
We are adapting. Yeah, we are figuring this thing out as we go.
Here's the story.
Figuring it out as we go. Story of my life. Hi, I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to The Story. I am really excited for you to see our first story tonight. It is a unique look at a problem that is anything but. And I'd love to hear from you tonight because I'm thinking it's going to strike a nerve with a lot of you since so many people at home are dealing with this. And we're talking about educating our kids and, frankly, whether we're doing a good enough job. So watch with your phone in your hand tonight. Tell us your story, how you're feeling. Talk to us on Facebook or Instagram. You can email us at thestory@kgw.com or use Twitter and the hashtag HeyDan. Now, if you don't know about our series Inside Woodlawn, it's given us the kind of access to a school that really no other journalists in the state, maybe in the country, have had during this pandemic. I really want you to know how rare it is to get this kind of access to kids and families and teachers, especially now as they're trying to figure out really how to do this, something I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. This is episode 8 of Inside Woodlawn. Here's Kristen Severance.
I never, ever considered this being something that would happen across our state, across our country.
We were at Woodlawn Elementary School on a cloudy Friday in early April as teachers packed up their stuff for the long haul.
Trip 1 of 2, where we're all just running as fast as we can to keep up with timelines and make sure our kids' needs are met.
The governor hadn't canceled in-person school yet, but it was coming.
Bye.
And everyone felt it.
Today's deadline for Monday and having a whole week planned out. Like, what do you want? Like, I don't know what I'm doing right
It's
now.
a lot.
The dreary weather matched the mood.
Most of the things I'm doing, I've already done like 1,000 times. It's been hard for me to find good things to do.
It's like a big disaster struck, but you don't know how long it's going to last.
Yes.
There was still a surreal feeling about the coronavirus.
We're staying in the house.
Yeah, good, smart. That's what I'm doing, other than work stuff.
Unbelievable, huh?
It's really crazy.
Yeah.
See you later.
And a lot of uncertainty about how teachers would actually teach.
You know what? It's kind of like building a plane while it's in the air. So we're up there, so we got to do it now. We got to do it.
I'm going to be ready for it. I hope families are ready for it. In 3rd grade, this isn't a platform I have done in the classroom. So it's not something that when I say, hey, do this, they're all going to be like, oh yeah, I know what to do.
It seems like a big lift.
The best thing we can do for the health of our children.
A few days later, it was official. Kate Brown was canceling in-person school in Oregon for the rest of the year.
By announcing the decision today to close in-person classes for the remainder of the school year.
Woodlawn, like all the other schools across the state, would do distance learning for the rest of the year. This episode looks at how it's going for kids, teachers, and families already struggling during this pandemic.
It's recording.
Using Google Classroom, teachers like Lionel Clegg connect with his first graders. He took a screen recording of his weekly meetup.
Hey, lady.
I miss you guys.
We miss you too.
It's so weird. I just wish I can just go back right now and I don't have to stay home because it's so boring doing schoolwork.
Yeah, it's not fair because of the coronavirus is like ripping the whole world into each house and no one could see each other anymore.
I know.
Mr. Clegg gives the kids time to catch up.
I have been making a birthday cake for my mom's friend.
Well, I've been watching Inside Out because my sister got it for Easter, and I've been watching Inside Out every day.
There's instruction, too. Student teacher Emily Wynn led the meeting, helping the kids navigate assignments on a platform called Seesaw.
Which will show you that these are the words that you're going to be reading. Breath, along, favorite.
In the lower grades, parents are very involved.
Miss Emily, we didn't see it, but we'll go back and look for that bubble.
But for the students that have access and the ability to do the work, the bar is high. The notoriously no-nonsense Mr. Clegg is still Mr. Clegg, even online.
Just because we're not together doesn't mean that we still can't grow. It doesn't mean that they can't still individually and on their own push themselves to do some extra work and do some extra practice.
Okay, got the morning workstation all set up.
Melody Flores gave us a snapshot of what distance learning looks like at her house, posting assignments.
Go through and look at what they've been doing.
5.
Here they've been counting coins.
10. 11.
Getting video messages from students like Marcus.
Hi, Miss Flores, and I hope you're having a great day. Make sure you wash your hands. You don't want the coronavirus to get you.
It's about an hour. It's about 45 minutes of reading, writing, and math. And then up to about 2 additional hours of extra like specials or extra stuff. So
extra stuff, like show your pet day.
Okay, does your kitty seem okay? Like she can get around okay and she seems happy?
It's a boy, and we named him Pirate because pirates have one eye.
Miss Flores believes the skills the kids are learning outweighs the loss of classroom time.
I don't think they're going to be behind at all. I think they are learning so much. There's so many other skills and things that they're learning through the technology piece, through exploring around their house.
So does 4th grade teacher Jai Blair.
I don't get to roam around the room and say, hey, stay on task, stay focused. It's really up to them to learn that independence. So I believe that they're learning a different life skill than what they're getting inside of the classroom.
While the older students know the platform and they don't need help from parents, they may have to help out more at home.
Kareem, what have you been up to?
I've been playing with my sister a lot. Most of the time, I take care of her at night.
I'm trying to make it as similar to the classroom as possible. So using Google Slides a lot and then having students click on links through that. I'm just trying to make it as comfortable as possible because I know a lot of families are juggling a lot.
Then there are the Woodlawn kids who can't do any of this because they don't have devices or internet.
I'd say 25 to 60% of engagement in the online learning. So there's still really a solid section of students that aren't engaging. Today is a device pickup day.
We were there as Andrea picked up 65 Chromebooks from the district office for families.
We are adapting. Yeah, we are figuring this thing out as we go. There you go.
But when she and assistant principal Alma Velasquez took the Chromebooks over to Martin Luther King Jr., the place where families were supposed to pick up the laptops, no one came.
Swan didn't get one. It didn't work out today to get Chromebooks distributed to families, so this may not be the best way to do it, and we're just trying to get these devices in kids' hands, so we're pretty much willing to just drive to their house and get it to them. So that's the plan, next step. We'll get there.
So they set up at Woodlawn a few days later in the evening.
Hope.
Here it is, right in front of me.
Passed out 14 laptops, delivered the rest, and dropped off hotspots too.
It's been challenging, very challenging. I'm still working.
Maria Torres picked up a Chromebook for her daughter.
It's great since I don't have one currently at home. This is great for my daughter. She's a 2nd grader, and it's going to help her just keep on track, keep up with everything.
My biggest fear was that we would have kids who would not be able to engage in some way. So gradually we're closing that gap.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
But if I've learned anything doing Inside Woodlawn, it's if you really want the truth about something, you have to ask the kids.
How is online school going?
Good. We got a new computer and we're calling you on it.
1st grader Clover and 3rd grader Melody kind of like it.
You don't have to have a schedule and be like, we have to do this right now. You can be like, I want to do this part first, and then I want to do this part.
Do you feel like you guys are learning?
Yeah, I feel like we're learning. Like, it's not the same as school. We're not learning 6 hours a day, but it's better than just sitting around all day and doing whatever we want. We can at least learn for an hour or 2 a day. It feels good to learn because we're not at school to learn, and I like writing.
Second grader Angel is getting used to it.
I miss my teacher. I miss everybody. And school at home is just, it's kind of hard because all my siblings are just yelling, and I can't do nothing.
Fourth grader Rashad sees the positives.
I like how you can log on at any time and do the work, and like you can't get distracted by it very much. It's like you don't have to like be so like squished in one room. You can move freely like this, and you don't feel like the need of bullying or anything. Like if you're in a classroom, it'll be easier to bully, but online, then like you have the teacher right there listening to everyone's conversation, so it's not like nobody can get bullied.
For fifth grader Cameron, the work part is fine.
I just wake up in the morning, go straight downstairs, work on my stuff for an hour or 2, take a break, and do it again.
She's missing the people.
I miss like my teachers a lot. I miss my teachers so much because they're just the people that make me very happy. Even if there's times where I got in trouble and they'd had to help me out. Even just when they're there, it just seems like, well, there's nothing that could go on that would be wrong. Everything would go good when they're there.
Tough for Mom Ashley to hear.
Especially for Cameron. You know, she's such a social butterfly, and, you know, being in the house like this has been really hard. So you're your mom, you know, you're a teacher, you're a counselor, you're still trying to be an employee at the same time. So it's difficult.
And while Cameron is learning, there's no denying she and all the other fifth graders are really missing their last moments as students inside Woodlawn.
I'm like, all that stuff went to waste. It was almost like it was like a bucket list that I had planned for all year and all the good things. And it just seems like it just went down the drain. Everything I wanted to do went down the drain and probably won't come back. But I will, of course, always come back to that school to visit. Always. Never forgetting that.
Okay, Kristen Severance joining us now. I feel like I got a really fantastic look behind a curtain that I've been so curious to look behind since the very beginning of all of this.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't doom and gloom. This wasn't, rose-colored glasses. This was real. This is what's really happening, with the people that we interview, with the teachers and the kids and the administrators.
It felt real, but I can't stop thinking about the doom and gloom. I can't stop thinking about those kids who I just, in my gut, feel like are really being left behind in the back end of this school year, who can't get connected, maybe don't have the family structure, just do not have the ability to learn like some other families.
100%, there are families that can't do this. Families that can't get connected. They don't have a hotspot. They don't have internet. Maybe they don't even have a permanent place to live. I know schools are trying to reach those kids, and Woodlawn will not stop until they get those kids online. And that is one of the stories we're working on next.
All right, Kristen Severance, and a reminder to everyone at home, you can catch up on all of Kristen's series Inside Woodlawn. Again, tonight was episode 8. You really get an opportunity to know these families in that school very well. You can find that all on the KGW YouTube channel. Kristen, thank you.
You bet.
When the story continues.
There is some difficult news to share.
Not everything is reopening on May 15th. In fact, it's far from it. Though we do know how long it's going to be before we go to a concert again. And a story viewer wanted us to clarify a specific Oregon law, so we uncovered the truth. See what I did there?
Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for chatting with us on social media during the break. Reminder that Kristen Severance is going to be back at the end of the newscast to answer any of the questions or read some of your comments about her latest episode of Inside Woodlawn that just aired. So write us, use the hashtag HeyDan. You can email us at thestory@kgw.com, and we're going to circle back to that at the end of the show. First, though, we thought we should talk about the announcement palooza that happened today in Oregon. Both Governor Brown and Mayor Wheeler had a lot to say today. The mayor's message the governor's message, mostly positive. She laid out Oregon's the most comprehensive plan yet to start to reopen the state. Wheeler, on the other hand, not as positive. He kind of just laid out how much the city is hurting right now by losing out on so much lodging and business tax dollars. Let's start with the good news. We like to start with the good news here. Or maybe we should say the more positive news, because Governor Brown did have some bad news too. Basically, she said Oregon will reopen in a series of 3 phases. Counties can apply to enter phase 1 starting on May 15th, but only if they do 7 things. Start seeing fewer cases, do the minimum amount of testing, and have a contact tracing system in place. Have enough quarantine facilities like hotels and motels that could be used to isolate sick people during an outbreak. Have enough hospital capacity and PPE, and meet finalized statewide guidelines for businesses in various sectors. Now, if counties check all 7 of those boxes, local leaders can actually start applying tomorrow to enter phase 1. So what does phase 1 look like? It's not a ton, but it's certainly a start. Under phase 1, restaurants and bars will be able to reopen with 6-foot distancing. Salons, barbers, and massage parlors could open also, and would have to be appointment only, and they will keep a list of customers for contact tracing. Gyms could reopen with capacity limits and with physical distancing, and local gatherings would again be allowed to be up to 25 people. She also said certain retail stores, child care centers, and summer camps could also reopen on the 15th. But the grocery store workers are now required to wear masks, and she encouraged companies to urge customers to do the same. Okay, now time for the bad news.
Large gatherings, including live sporting events with audiences, concerts, festivals, and conventions, will not be able to return until we have a reliable treatment or prevention like a vaccine. The Oregon Health Authority is advising that any large gathering, at least through September, should either be canceled or significantly modified.
All right, so if you were holding out hope that that concert you booked for August just might happen, maybe start building a playlist instead. Each county that enters phase 1 will have to stay in phase 1 for at least 21 days before entering phase 2. And the state is actually still fine-tuning exactly what phase 2 will even look like. But it'll probably mean larger gatherings and more people being able to physically return to work. Now, as for the mayor's announcement, that can basically be summed up in one sentence. The city isn't taking in enough revenue, and some big cuts need to be made. The city and county, they rely largely on taxes from lodging and businesses to meet their budgets, and people aren't exactly doing a lot of traveling in business right now. So next month, when the new fiscal year starts, Portland's general fund will drop by $75 million. So the mayor said cuts need to be made. As for where they will happen, that brings us to our quote of the day from Mayor Wheeler. He says, literally everything is on the table. He expects cuts to the city bureaus to cut 5.6% from their budget, preferably with pay cuts and program cuts. But layoffs are not out of the question right now. And here's the rub. Even if every bureau trims its budget by 5.6%, the mayor said they will still only be halfway there, okay? The rest of that's going to have to come from city services, resources, and other sources.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Safino, and in tonight's weather story, we're going to answer a couple of your questions. They're great questions. So, question number 1 has to do with snowpack. And the viewer asks, where are we with our snowpack right now? Especially after the fact that we had such a warm April, how is our snowpack doing, and how will that impact fire season, if at all? Well, let me show you the numbers on this for snowpack at some select locations around the Cascades here. First of all, it's interesting at Mount Hood because Timberline and Meadows were both above average a little bit on April 1st. That's a key number because that's when snowpack in the Cascades usually peaks. So it's great that we were at 105% at Timberline, 110% at Meadows. But now look, May 1st, we've dropped on down to 84% at Timberline and 75% at Meadows, and that is because of the very, very warm April that we had. Now, a little farther north, Mount Baker and Mount Rainier are doing just fine. They're at 106% and 102% of average for May 1st, but this dovetails with two things. First of all, the warm April that we had, but also in view of climate change, we are seeing warmer springs, so seeing an earlier melt-off to our Cascade snowpack is not all that surprising to me. Now, second part of that question has to do with our fire season. Tough to say. The fire season is so dependent on how much lightning we get, when we get it, where we get it, and then of course the human component of that, which is completely unpredictable. So I don't think this is going to have a big impact on fire season per se. Second question is this: why do we always talk about the weather at the Portland airport? The average temperatures, the high temperature, the rainfall, so on and so forth. Why the airport? What's so special about the airport? Well, the answer to that is this. At the airport, they keep records. That's where the records go back to 1940. Some of the records actually go back to 1938 at the Portland airport. So it gives us a long period of record for which to compare our current weather. So we compare it to the averages, and the averages are at the airport. And the reason they're at the airport is if you're flying planes, you need to know what the weather is. So we take a lot of weather observations at all airports all around the country. That said, we also take weather observations and have climatic records for other places, like in downtown Portland. We actually do it at KGW. We are the official climate station for downtown Portland since about 1973. Prior to that, it was at a couple of other places around downtown. But there are other locations, but airports, they are key to our weather records around the United States and indeed around the world, Dan.
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff, Matt. Thank you. I was curious about both those questions. I'm glad we got them answered tonight. Again, thank you to Matt, and I want to thank this viewer also for another question because they wanted some clarity about a state law regarding public nudity. This is after we reported that the World Naked Bike Ride was sort of canceled. You can still take part on your own if you really want to, but we explained how public nudity is actually illegal in the city of Portland, unless, little asterisk here, it's part of a protest. So the Naked Bike Ride is technically a protest against oil dependency. But Judy wrote me on Facebook and said, "Hey Dan, is it true that it's against the law to be naked in Oregon? When did the law change? Can't you be naked anywhere in Oregon unless you are being lewd? Naked gardening is a huge thing here." So apparently World Naked Gardening Day happened last Saturday, so set your calendars for a year from last Saturday. The more you know, I guess. Well, Judy, look, you're technically right, okay, but Oregon law is a little bit different from Portland law. See, state law doesn't have a problem with you bearing it all, unless the reason you're bearing it all is to arouse people. In other words, nudity is legal in Oregon as long as there's no chance anybody's enjoying it. But certain cities like Portland, they do have bans on public nudity outright, except, again, if it's a protest. We're going to bring back Kristen in just a moment to read some of your comments about our latest episode of Inside Woodlawn. So keep those questions coming during the break using the hashtag HeyDan. And I got some feedback that I want to share with you. It was so intense, I had to reach halfway across the country for reinforcements. We're going to finish the story next. All right, Kristen's back. You've been reading through some comments that we've been getting after your latest episode of Inside Woodlawn, all about navigating remote learning. What are you hearing?
Yes, so this person says, "Hey Dan, it's nice that you're showing about the inner runnings of Woodlawn, but as a teacher, I'm tired of hearing about one school from one district." She says, "There are a lot of teachers out here working very hard to help our students adjust, to calm their fears, to continue to teach them. Every day is exhausting and so much learning for teachers. I teach English. My students need help. Anyway, there are a lot of us. Don't forget about the rest of us." Signed, Beth from Hillsborough. Beth, yes, we know. We want everyone to see all of the things that teachers do and all of the things that schools do. I mean, this is transferable. That is why we are doing this project. And I think this next story that we're working on, where we focus on, families, the families who cannot get connected, I think that'll be transferable too. It's something that's happening in every school across Oregon and across the country.
Absolutely, Kristen, thank you. Of course, we care about all of our teachers and the families in those schools. Thanks. So look, I do want to read one more comment before we say good night. This is an email I got from Jerry Roach. He said, "I quit watching the 6 p.m. news when you put Dan Haggerty as the anchor. He spends way too much time ad-libbing instead of focusing on news." And it ends with, "A Joe Donlin, he is not."
Well, I mean, who is, right?
Mr. Donlin, your massage is in about 10 minutes.
Thank you, Brandon. And that's the story. What's up, Portland?